We'll read the participation reminder for the public. Persons wishing to address the board must sign up prior to the start of public participation. Speakers must register on the form provided by the district at the entrance of the boardroom to maintain a first-come, first-served process. For purpose of following up with the speakers must provide their name, address, telephone number, and/or email address. To limit comments to matters which may be properly discussed during public participation, the speakers will provide the topics. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Thank you. 1B is the reading of the emergency evacuation procedure. In case of emergency, would everyone please follow the exit signs to the outside of the building? Please stay completely clear of the building to provide space for any emergency vehicles. 1C, if we could stand for a moment of silence, please. Adam, if you'll help me with the pledge. To the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, item 2 is oath of office and election of officers. I was able to swear in our newly re-elected board member Lisa Kostecki on July 1st. So I'm going to start by swearing in 2 additional newly re-elected board members, Tim DeLucia and Elizabeth Mitchell. I'll start with you, Mr. DeLucia. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Timothy DeLucia.
I, Timothy DeLucia.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of Board of Education.
Of Board of Education.
For the Victor Central School District.
For the Victor Central School District.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
Thank you. And if you'll sign here, please. Mrs. Mitchell. Okay, raise your right hand. I, Elizabeth Mitchell.
I, Elizabeth Mitchell.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of the Board of Education.
Of the Board of Education.
For the Victor Central School District.
For the Victor Central School District.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Summary.
All right, next on the agenda is the election of officers. Item 2B. So these are the election of the board officers for the 2025-2026 school year. Can I please have a nomination for president of the Board of Education?
I nominate Lisa Kostecki for the office of president.
Mr. DeLucia nominates Mrs. Kostecki. Are there any other nominations for president? Okay, hearing no others, can I have a second, please?
Elizabeth Mitchell.
Thank you. I'll now take a roll call vote. If you could please signify yes or no for Lisa Kostecki for board president. Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. DeLucia?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Prescott? Yes. Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Okay, Lisa Kostecki will be president of the Board of Education for the 2025-2026 school year. Thank you. We'll now do the election of the vice president. Can I please have a nomination for vice president of the Board of Education?
I would like to nominate Elizabeth Mitchell.
Brian Adams nominates Elizabeth Mitchell. Are there any other nominations for board vice president at this time? Hearing no other nominations, can I have a second, please?
Second by Tim DeLucia.
Thank you. I'll now take a roll call vote. Please signify yes or no for Elizabeth Mitchell for board vice president. Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. DeLucia?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Prescott?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Elizabeth Mitchell will be the vice president for the Board of Education for the 2025-2026 school year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we're going to administer the oaths of office for Dr. Terranova, Superintendent of Schools, and then we'll take another oath for Mrs. Mitchell for vice presidency. Dr. Terranova, you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Timothy Terranova,
I, Timothy Terranova,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of superintendent
of superintendent
for the Victor Central School District
for the Victor Central School District
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. And Mrs. Mitchell. One more here. I, Elizabeth Mitchell,
Do I have to raise my hand or?
Yeah.
Okay. I, Elizabeth Mitchell,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Vice President
of Vice President
of the Board of Education
of the Board of
for
Education
the Victor Central School District
for the Victor Central School District
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities. I was going to say that you want to hold it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to pass the meeting over now to Mrs. Mitchell.
Okay. We are through oaths of office. Now we're going to look for an approval of tonight's agenda. Can I please have a motion to approve?
Carol?
Okay. Are there questions or comments about anything on the agenda? Seeing none, can I have a second?
Adam?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Item 4, the superintendent's update. Dr. Terranova.
Thank you, Mrs. Mitchell, and thank you to Tim DeLucia and Christopher Parks for their leadership on the board, and certainly their continued work on the board for the foreseeable future, which is the best news, and congratulations to Lisa and Elizabeth for their new leadership roles. Also want to have a big welcome to some administrators that are entering new positions this year. Amanda Byrne, who started as the primary school principal on July 1st. She's doing a great job in her first 2 weeks. We met today, and she's already implementing her entry plan and making sure that she's right on top of everything that she needs to be, so I'm really excited about her role. And then welcome to Leah Daniels-Farron, our new assistant principal at the intermediate building, and Matt Halloran, our new assistant principal at the Victor Senior High School. And Kate Pyle has recently started for us back in middle of May, and I think hopefully you met Kate, but we're excited about the new additions to our leadership staff. I just have two other updates. One is a quick summary of the summer programs and offerings that are occurring in 2025. We have a very, very busy campus. We have our special education extended school year program going on, started this Monday and going all the way through August 15th. That's occurring at the primary and the intermediate school. We have our summer academy for our K-6 students that runs from this Monday through July 24th. That's also at the primary and intermediate schools. We have Camp Invention. Carol Prescott, thanks to her, really her work in this for years. It's an amazing camp that occurs from July 28th through August 1st at the intermediate school. We have our college camp for juniors who want to get practice on the college application process. That occurs in August. Throughout August 4th through August 14th at the high school library. And then we have our collaborative groups through the community, Parks and Rec, K-6. That occurs throughout the entire summer up to early August. And they utilize the junior high school as well as the rec center for their work around Parks and Rec K-6 camp. We are also a part of the regional summer school that this year is at Canandaigua, but we have multiple high school teachers working there. That goes from July 14th through August 15th. And actually our very own Christina Sykes is acting as principal this year of the regional summer school. And you can't forget also extended summer enrichment, again through Parks and Recreation. That varies in their time frame, but it's offered throughout the summer. So just wanted to make sure people knew how much was going on this summer with our kids and how important it is to maintain these experiences for our kids as they work through July and August. And then lastly, July 22nd through July 24th is our 3-day leadership staff retreat. And we have 3 major objectives. Actually, I'll go through the 3 days because the objectives are interwoven between them. First half day is going to be spent with bringing in retired superintendent from Greece, Kathy Groutman, who's going to work with our leadership staff on leadership dynamics, decision-making protocols and processes. I think it's going to be really important to do that as we get some new administrators in that group and really try to gel as a group and really focus on how do we make decisions, who's involved in those decisions, what's the processes we use and the protocols, and then how do we communicate that moving forward. We just have to remind ourselves and really try to work as a team around that. I think that'll be great. That's for the first half day. The second half day will be focused on unpacking our equity audit that the University of Rochester performed for us, and it includes both quantitative and qualitative information, and we're going to really review that for their impact on the 25-26 management plan, and we'll certainly have a future Board of Ed update on our equity audit. The second day is working with what I would call the core principles of instruction, and our leadership staff is going to focus on lesson planning and implementation of lesson planning and trying to, I guess, institutionalize a process that we already have been working on to really be consistent across all 5 buildings to maximize exceptional teaching and learning practices that emphasize student engagement and relevant learning experiences. And that's going to be really the second day. And then the third day, we work more in small groups and independently on building and department goals tied to the strategic plan and the 25-26 management plan, with a heavy focus on what it's going to look like when we accomplish those goals so that we can really get into the rest of the summer as we bring in some of our shared decision-making teams and our teacher leaders and get set for the 3 conference days in August before school starts to really hit the ground running around what are our core focus areas, our building and department goals, and how do they really flow down to individual professionals and what they have to focus on. So very excited about the July leadership retreat. It's a collaborative planning process with multiple leadership staff members under the direction of Karen Finter and Karen Ryan. So thank you. That's my superintendent's update.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Item 5 are organizational items. We're looking for a motion to approve, upon recommendation of the superintendent, the following organizational items for the 25-26 school year, starting with item A. And I believe it goes over to Page 8 and item, oops, now I've got to flip back a little bit. Item F, A through F, for, this is the organizational item. So I'm looking for a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. I have a second, or are there questions or comments about any of these before we have a second? Okay. We'll take a vote. All in favor for approving these recommendations? Oh, a second? Oh, I'm sorry.
Second by Tim.
Thank you, Mr. DeLucia. Now we're going to have a vote. All in favor of those organizational items, item 5A through F?
Aye.
Yes. Okay. Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Item 6, public participation. Mrs. Selleck? Low numbers on a July meeting. Thank you. We'll move on to item 7, acceptance of consent items. Looking for a motion to approve upon recommendation of the superintendent the following consent items, items A through M, towards the middle of page 11.
Motion by Tim.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments about any of these?
I'd actually like to mention item I.
Okay,
That is the internal control risk assessment report and associated corrective action plan, and I'm asking Christine Griffin to come up and just speak for a couple of minutes about it before the board votes on it.
thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Can you hear me? So, good evening, everybody. Tonight on the agenda, you're going to see 2 internal control reports along with their associated corrective action plans for your acceptance. The audit committee met on July 1st, where EFPR Group reviewed with them the findings of the reports. First, the 2023-2024 IT asset management audit. That audit focused on our IT assets and device location. Minor findings were included, which was including software data elements. They suggested adding costs and lifespan data for enhanced tracking. And also on the device locations, they audited 50 items that they sampled, three loaner items. They were initially couldn't find it, but they did find them, so they just made a recommendation that we update that information in the database. Our corrective action plan emphasizes more stringent tracking for loaner items and diligent oversight. Second, the 2024-2025 internal control risk assessment you'll find. That's the annual report required by the New York State Comptroller. It helps us identify and strengthen control procedures in areas susceptible to misstatements. A specific recommendation was for the Transportation Director to approve department time reporting. That has been implemented already. We also are converting to an electronic timekeeping system for the Transportation Department, which includes built-in approvals. A second recommendation was to have the Transportation Director receive and review the parts inventory conducted by our Transportation Department mechanics. Finally, the audit committee discussed potential focus areas for the 24-25 audit. These included extracurricular activities, focusing on proper fundraising activity from outside organizations, or as well as possibly an audit of our transportation department, given the driver shortage and its operational impacts that it's having. The audit committee had asked that we give some guidance on what's auditable items and what's not auditable items. So auditable areas are typically areas where the school district has direct financial responsibility, control over operations, and that we maintain the records. Non-auditable areas would be, something that falls outside the direct financial control and operational purview of the district. So while the district may interact with them, the internal financial and operational workings of these external entities are not directly auditable by the school district. However, school districts could audit on the funds received from these outside organizations and whether we as a district properly recorded and managed those funds. So I don't know if you guys want to discuss that. I would assume that at one point in time we will hear from the audit committee and let the auditors know what focus area we want to do for this 24-25 cycle audit. Any questions?
Do we have any questions or discussion points?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments about items A through M? Okay, can I have a second?
Carol?
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, item A, we are at campus news. Dr. Terranova.
Yes, since these are the dog days of summer, you get to listen to me for 2 months about the campus news. So I know you're excited. So I did ask our principals to let us know some of the events that are occurring this summer. So at the Early Childhood School, we're welcoming our incoming UPK students this week for UPK screening. Big thanks to the UPK team, PPS teachers, and office administrative assistants for organizing the important opportunity. Not only do we get to know our students a bit better before the start of the school year, but our families get a chance to see what a warm and welcoming school we have at the VEC. Primary school teachers are collaborating to support shifts with curriculum and instruction. A group of second grade teachers have already come together to write 2 social studies units focused on community and government. Our elementary administrators are hosting our annual summer playground nights in the community this August. We will be greeting families at both Victor Municipal Park and Mertenzia Park with smiles and popsicles. It's such a great opportunity to see families out in the community and frame students' transitions in a positive and exciting way. At the intermediate, it's hard to believe the 24-25 school year has come to an end. We are so proud of all we have accomplished together as a school community. Throughout the year, students not only deepened their understanding of academic content, but also embraced and lived out our school motto, which is VIS Respects. This growth would not have been possible without the continued support and partnership of our amazing VIS families and school community. Thank you for all you do to help our students thrive. We are incredibly grateful and look forward to another wonderful year ahead at Victor Intermediate School. Also, welcome Leah Daniels-Farron to the role of assistant principal. She's a great addition. Thank you to Mark Nelson for his leadership throughout the 24-25 school year as interim assistant principal. At the junior high school, we're excited to welcome new teachers next year to our science, social studies, special education, English, and world language departments. We are preparing to support them as they join the Victor Central School District. Thank you to the counseling team at the junior high for their attention to detail and persistence in ensuring students will have access to their courses, opportunities, and support for next year as we finalize the hand scheduling steps of our scheduling process. And at the senior high, there's two shout outs. One, a huge congratulations to the 320 members of the class of 2025 who graduated on Friday, June 20th at Innovative Field. The Victor Senior High School staff recognized Megan Braithwaite and Andrew Goodell as the 2 outstanding senior student award winners for the Norma Only Award and Walter Henahan Award. It was a wonderful celebration. The weather was perfect, and the speeches and musical performances by our graduates once again showcased the amazing talents of the class of 2025. We are so proud of the many accomplishments our graduates achieved and wish them the sincerest best of luck in the future and their future endeavors. Also, secondly, special thanks to our summer school teachers and administrators who are working with over 150 students from 6 districts at the Ontario County Regional Summer School. Victor, Canandaigua, Honey Eye, Red Jacket, Mid Lakes, and Bloomfield are there. Our secondary science coach, as I mentioned earlier, Christina Sykes, by the way, that's a new position for her this year too, secondary science coach, is the principal, and the students will be working hard in their coursework as they look forward to earning credit to be ready for September in their home districts. And that's campus news for July.
Thank you, Dr. Terranova. Item 8B, approving the following field trips. Wrestling to Cooperstown on December 26th, 2025, with the attached itinerary that we all had a chance to look at. A second wrestling trip to Dellinson in January of 26, and a trip for girls soccer to Livonia on August 29th. So we can do a motion to approve all of the trips together. Can I have a motion for that?
Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Any questions or comments? Can I have a second?
Second by Tim.
Thank you, Mr. DeLucia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Trips carry. Thank you. Item 8C, textbook and materials presentation and approval of the 3-6 ELA from Mrs. Fincher. Mrs. Fincher, just one moment. I'm not sure if we have the mic on.
How about now? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Try that again. Good evening. My name is Karen Finter. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction here in the Victor Central School District. And on behalf of Kira Carinci, our Director of Humanities, the Office of Instruction team, and teachers in grades 3 through 6, I'm here to share an exciting resource proposal with you. Oops. So really, over the last few years, we've, as you know, have spent a great deal of time and energy trying to support our students' progress in ELA, specifically in grades 3 through 6. The lack of a guaranteed and viable curriculum was one of the major barriers that we were trying to overcome. As we continue to address the tasks from the VCS strategic plan, this resource proposal will directly connect to our expressed areas of need, will serve to remove opportunity barriers to high level of achievement for all of our students. So leading up to this proposal, really as Kira joined the team in August, we worked closely together to do a deep dive into student data and the progress that we were making trying to write a local humanities-based curriculum. Teachers were working alongside coaches and admin furiously to write units of study, but the progress to write, implement, revise really was draining. We were, in a way, hamstrung. We couldn't shift to deepen professional practice because all of our resources and efforts were going into writing the curriculum. So the pacing only allowed 1 to 2 units per year, and 5 years is too long to live in an in-between world. So that work was not sustainable. That was the conclusion we came to. So in November, we began talking with others, teacher leaders, coaches, admin, about what do we need in a resource. Certainly something that aligned to what we know to be best practice in reading research, alignment to standards, all in one, so we didn't have multiple pieces that we had to string together. Certainly vertical alignment across the grade band in writing. Strong resources to support the development of our students as writers. So looking at those recommendations and consulting some trusted resources, we found 2 programs that would meet our initial needs. So we started to formulate a plan to pilot those 2 resources. We solicited teachers in early January to consider piloting Arts and Letters by Great Minds or CKLA and Amplify ELA. We were very fortunate that we had many volunteers and narrowed it down to 2 teachers per resource per grade level, inclusive of ENL and ICT classrooms. So those pilot teachers were trained, and we were able to see implementation firsthand through detailed walkthroughs and visits facilitated by coaches. Professional development was built right into implementation, and our teachers and students responded so positively. Lots of feedback was gathered throughout the spring, and pilot teachers weighed in and reached overwhelming consensus on CKLA Amplify as the identified resource. Okay, so what is CKLA? So CKLA uses thematic or knowledge-based ELA units to drive skill development. Students are immersed in a topic. For example, one of the 5th grade units was oceans, and they navigate reading, writing, analysis, text structure, vocabulary throughout that knowledge-based study. It isn't about teaching a single thing, but it's about embedding the skills throughout the learning that help students really hone those skills, build their knowledge, and lead to a progression. So all of that skill development that you see at the bottom of the screen is incorporated into every unit. And that's aligned vertically and builds. You can see the progression from 3rd grade to 4th grade to 5th grade. So this is just a snapshot of what the scope and sequence looks like for grades 3 through 5. Those novel studies, those areas that are circled on the slide, were selected by our teachers as the choice units. So you can see in 3rd grade, the novel study selection is Charlotte's Web. In 4th grade, crafting stories, a world of tales that takes them around the world, looking at stories and how they're told in different cultures. And then in 5th grade, they're even dabbling in a little Shakespeare with A Midsummer's Night's Dream. Amplify 6th grade is a little different because of the shift in the standards grade band. 6-8 is a grade band of standards, and so the program calls itself Amplify. It's still grounded in that core knowledge building approach, and the lesson structure gives you a snapshot into what students on a daily basis will do: reading, writing, vocabulary, and independent application every day. So there was some great feedback from students about CKLA. There was a lot of excitement about some of the topics that they were studying, strong energy in the classrooms when we walked through and visited, and student engagement. So they were interacting with one another, interacting independently with rich text, writing a lot. They liked the content, and that really propelled them in developing their skills. Teachers also had a lot to say. We collected a great deal of feedback throughout the pilot process. The build vertically, that routine writing, they saw great growth in students even in that short time frame for students to build their writing capacity through that daily practice. It also certainly, to have everything in one place, we know that there were some gaps that were created. Teachers had to do some sort and find from a variety of sources to cover some gaps and cover some needs. Now they have a suite of tools that they can pull from that are common, that are consistent, and that will help support our students' achievement. So where do we go next? Certainly a lot more professional learning and development, some initial training. They saw a sneak peek before the summertime. We'll finish that up and continue that through the fall. Both Amplify-led and our own, we're excited to have some support, built-in support, now that our ELA coach is not going to be spent writing a curriculum. She'll really help support the implementation. PLCs are going to take a big role in the implementation and support. And then we know that we'll continue to keep tabs on our student performance, looking at benchmark assessment, our curriculum-based assessments that are now incorporated with the program, where we might need to shift and grow, because certainly a program isn't the thing, right? We know that we'll have to customize, but at least it gives us a strong foundation from which to build upon. And we're certainly going to be collecting input from our faculty, from our students, and our administrators throughout the implementation. So thank you. Any questions?
Any questions? Mrs. Prescott?
Just a comment. I know I was on curriculum council for years, even before you were here. And like for so long, everybody was saying, you know, it's like we need some consistency. We need, one place to go. It was a lot of Google Docs here and things over there. So this is wonderful. I am so glad, and I know it was a heck of a lot of work. So thank you very much, and thank you to the pilot teachers. And just a quick question, there were 2 programs, and even the teachers who were doing the other program clearly wanted to go with Amplify, so that's kind of
Yes.
encouraging.
Yes, very, very much so. It's, the pilot group, we had some opportunities for the 2 groups to come together and just share their experiences, but they're all part of the same grade level PLC. So they were having pretty open conversations and sharing student work along the way. And while there were a lot of strong attributes with that other program, the level of engagement and in the variety of the things that the kids were doing and were producing from CKLA really made the difference.
Oh, good, exciting, very exciting. Good luck with the implementation.
Are there other questions? I had just a few, just with my literacy hat on. So will the district continue then with Super Kids K through 1?
K2, yep.
Can
Super
you speak
Kids.
a little bit to the decision behind that?
Sure. So Super Kids, we're only in this will be our 3rd year of implementation. And we know as a program, while it would be a perfect world if it was all vertically the same, we know that the elements and the skills that Super Kids build are the same elements and skills that if CKLA, for instance, was used across that grade band, they're also building. So we know that we've seen a lot of great growth this year's 2nd grade cohort in particular. We've really seen an outstanding growth in their skill development, and we want to watch that transition as we implement our new curriculum, because what we were seeing building in momentum, we know that the gaps in the curriculum at 3rd grade really would counter. So we want to take an assessment of where things are 3, 6, and then if we do need to go back, we'll go back. But as of right now, we're still continuing to fully implement Super Kids.
Okay, and then for the current 3rd through 6th grade band who will miss some of this 3 through 6 because they weren't there, it wasn't present during those years that they were in those grades, what is the plan to help fill those gaps?
Yep. So there's, the instruction that the kids have received has been aligned to standard, right? So those standards are consistent across the grade levels. Some of the rituals and routines that are developed just naturally as part of the program will have to spend some time in 4th grade and 5th grade, in successive years building some of those rituals and routines. But as we saw with the pilot, honestly, Elizabeth, the students were, even in January, were very quick to pick up on what those routines were and what those skills were, and the growth that we saw throughout the spring was pretty strong. So I've got some good confidence that even though we might have to shore up with some skill building as the year starts, that will go pretty quickly.
That's great. Is there any alignment with the social studies or science curriculum or the standards that are currently in existence for 3 through 6?
Yeah, it's not a perfect match, right? They're using that content, but it's not really, it's topical, but it's not full standard alignment.
Okay.
What we are doing, though, our previous units that were humanities units, we're pulling out the social studies content and preserving it, right? You've, as a board, approved some of those rich texts that were used for some of the social studies units. Those will persist and will be used, but we'll be really focused on those social studies practices and to build that understanding.
Great. And then I just have one final question, and I promise I'll stop asking you questions. Looking at the structured lesson routine, the close reads specifically, students with disabilities, or if they're not, or even students who are not fully reading at grade level yet, how is that managed with that grade level text?
Yeah, so there are, right, and there are a host of ways that we do that currently, and then even within the program, right? So, through the pilot process in our ICT classrooms, we leveraged small group instruction, we leveraged some assistive technology, we leveraged focusing on components of the text and using that as scaffold. So there's ways to incorporate some of that specially designed instruction that our integrated co-taught teams have had training in to help support the implementation so that all kids can access the resources.
Sounds great. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stand right here because I think I'm
Okay,
next.
yes, you're up next again. We have to approve. Yep, so could I have, thanks for being patient with me, everybody. Can I have a motion to approve the 3 through 6 ELA, CKLA
Brian.
program? Brian, Mr. Adams, can I have a second? Mrs. Prescott? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8D, presentation by Mrs. Fincher on the review of the Code of Conduct, Policy 5300.
All right, so I'm back. Just wanted to share a brief overview of the proposed shifts to the Code of Conduct. As you know, the Code of Conduct's reviewed annually by our district council. This year, the council engaged in a very comprehensive review of the code, anchoring to that charge from the strategic plan, which has been integrated into our district's equity and inclusion plan, to really revise that code to make sure that it is an accessible document, that it supports preventative measures as well as reactive measures when it comes to discipline and behavior. So the review process took us, started with a 4-month dive into looking at some other districts' plans. Other districts have done some comprehensive revisions to their codes, and so the district council really wanted to dive in and take a look at those. The council identified areas of strength in these sample codes and areas of needs within our own. Accessible language, chunking information to make it more manageable, clarity, visual appeal were all areas that emerged to the council as places to target through the revision process. We also leaned on other stakeholders across the district. Our Dignity Act coordinators, district and building administrators, building councils, lead teachers also provided insights. And the draft, after going through some successive revision and review as a collaborative body, was finalized at the June council meeting. A quick summary of changes. Across the entire document, the language has been updated to be a more student and parent-friendly tone, using plain language, trying to eliminate some of the edge-of-speak, as I like to call it, and incorporating graphics. We also wanted to front-load the purpose of the code, where and when it applies specifically, and the shared responsibilities that we all have to uphold it. The Dignity Act coordinators really were in favor and appreciated the incorporation of Dignity Act information right at the forefront, as it's an important part of establishing a warm and welcoming environment here in each building. The Act isn't just about when violations happen, but it helps to set the tone of inclusivity for all. One of the most substantial components that has been shifted, and it's not so much that the content has shifted. Please know that this is not a watering down of expectations, but rather it's a reorganization of those expectations to be framed in a way that's similar to when we have students who have academic needs or social emotional needs. These behavioral needs manifest in a similar way across a continuum, and how we respond should be accordingly. So we've shifted from prohibited student behaviors to levels of concern, misconduct, interventions, and responses. So again, as I mentioned, this aligns to our approach to behavior across a continuum. It takes into account developmentally appropriate progressions when responding to behavior, and it provides a framework or context to partner with staff, students, and families to address concerns in a very clear way, far beyond just being disciplinarians, but really being educators. Other areas of change really dealt with matching current law and policy with what's in the code. When we collaborated with Pupil Services and Mrs. Ryan to really ensure that we had the language regarding physical restraints and their use to be a match. We wanted to also make sure that our visitor practices aligned to our current policy, that we had a proactive framework for community engagement, that idea of public conduct while on school property that was included, and then shifting definitions, not as a forefront in the document, but really as an appendix to the document. There must be some questions.
Questions or comments?
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we do need a motion to approve policy 5300, Victor Central School District Code of Conduct. Can I have a motion?
Motion by Tim.
Mr. DeLucia, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second, here.
Mrs. Prescott, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion's carried. Thank you. Item 8E, policy review. This is our second and final reading of the following policy, Policy 7316, use of internet-enabled devices during the school day. There was no feedback received from the constituent groups. Okay. Can I have a motion to approve Policy 7316, use of internet-enabled devices during the school day?
Brian.
Mr. Adams, thank you. Can I have a second?
Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. 8F, policy review, rescind the following policies from the Victor Central School District Policy Manual. These are just policies that will be rescinded. We've had a chance to, the policy subcommittee had a chance to see these. They're all listed starting at the bottom of page 12, going to the middle of page 13. Are there questions or comments about those at all?
Just for the benefit of listeners or watchers, like just the reason that they're being rescinded is kind of more redundancy. It's not that we're
Sure.
changing philosophies or anything
No,
like that.
it's either redundancies or they were procedures and not policies. So it's just really clearing up some of that language of what a policy is compared to some procedures or practices.
Okay,
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions or comments before we put that to a vote? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the rescinding of the following policies?
Brian.
Mr. Adams, thank you. I have a second.
Adam.
Mr. Snyder, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. 8G, the advocacy and community engagement discussion related to funding update. Dr. Terranova.
Yes, major thank you to the Board of Education. We've been talking as a board and as a team of 8, I'd call it, about creating a community advocacy group in the district, because currently our expenses are outpacing our revenues. So we're in a challenging situation financially, and we need to look for ways not just to continue to advocate with the state for increased and appropriate state aid for our district for future years, but also collaborating with our community to look at other revenue sources beyond state aid and taxes, as well as using our community resources to look for ways to figure out ways to support students in learning experiences through multiple connections, whether it's universities and colleges, whether it's through our BOCES program, whether it's through businesses, to give our kids the same or even better experiences for less costs. So thanks to the board, you've sent a total of 42 names of potential community partners that could be utilized for this particular group. The plan is to, because we can't have a working group that large, so we're looking at somewhere between 15 and 25 people. I will, once I get approval from board members that you've contacted the people that you've connected with, I'll send them an email formally inviting them to this group. And then over the next 2 weeks, I would say between tomorrow when I send the email, probably between tomorrow and then the end of July, or at least through July 25th. We'll try to solidify that group. People who are not able to do it will go to the next individuals on the list, because all of them are incredibly viable and great leaders in our community. So we're going to try to frame that list and that group down to a working group by the end of July. The board will decide whether to have 1 or 2 members or any members on this group. And then we hope to have our first meeting in early August to start the ball rolling, really explain our situation to the community group, and then start to generate ideas, where it becomes really an advisory group to both the board and the superintendent around ideas and ways to look outside the box to, again, generate more revenue as well as share in expenses and programming. So that's the gist of it. We'll certainly give a more specific update at the August 14th board meeting, because by then the goal will have already had a meeting with the group to start the ball rolling. So that's really what we're doing. Just any comments, questions, discussion with the board around it.
Comments or questions? All good things. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Item 8H, review and sign policy 2160. This is the school district officer and employee code of ethics. So that will be a signature at the end of the meeting. So please stick around and make sure that Mrs. Salick receives your signature on that. Item 9, meeting reports. A, Monroe County School Boards Association committee reports. Do we have any from June since our last meeting? I don't think there were any that I was attending. Item B, under 9, the standing committee updates. Okay. Upcoming events, regular school board meeting, our August meeting will be at 7:15 here in the Early Childhood School Boardroom. Our new educator orientation will be a couple days after, on August 19th from 8 a.m. to 8:30. That's an opportunity for any board members who are available to go meet and welcome new staff to Victor, and they'll be experiencing a couple orientation days as a cohort. And then item C, mark your calendars for availability for the superintendent's conference day, the opening day for staff, August 27th, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the auditorium over at the junior and senior high school. It'll be here before we know it. Before we adjourn, I did just want to take that opportunity on behalf of the board to thank Mr. DeLucia for his years of service as president and being an outstanding mentor to all of us. And I would be remiss if I didn't say something on behalf of the board. So thank you very much for your leadership and the continued leadership that you'll provide in the coming years. Are there any other items prior to adjournment? Okay, seeing as there are none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Brian.
Mr. Adams, a second.
Adam.
Mr. Snyder, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We've had a meeting. Thank you.